Good evening and welcome to a special episode of Not Your Mother's Radio. Tonight we are lucky enough to have on board a number of Frank Zappa and Mothers of Invention alumni. Included is Eliot and his esteemed co-host Ed Mann. We will hear from Ray White, Don Preston, and Bunk Gardner. Also, at the end of the program we will be hearing outtakes from the great Ian Underwood and the one and only Sal Marquez.
Guys, welcome to Not Your Mother's Radio, and we have some great special guests on tonight. In fact, this is going to be a bi-weekly thing that I'm going to be doing with Ed, I'm hoping. So we're going to be doing this every other week, bi-weekly, bi-monthly. It's the same thing. And what I'd like everybody to do is write down the dates. Today's the 6th. We'll be back the 20th. And what's happening here? Guys, say hello to everybody. Let me do some testing.
Hey, everybody.
Everybody.
Okay. Okay, so everybody's on. I got rid of the echoes. And good. Okay. So we can all hear each other?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let me just run and get the ashtray.
So let's get rid of this and let's get rid of some of this noise and let's make this happen tonight. Okay. So, Ed.
I'm back.
How have you been? Everything okay on your end?
Yeah, man. I mean, just speaking socially, I've been talking a lot with my daughter, and this thing, man, is not easy on young people.
No.
Yeah.
She's handling it well, but takes a lot of effort and, mind over matter.
They'll appreciate being able to be with people and be around people and do the hippie thing from 1968 and just say, fuck it, let's love. They'll appreciate, when this is over, everybody's going to really, I, for one, am ready to rock and get close to people and have some fun.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
So I pray for her, man. Young kids, you're right. Finish here.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so the second voice you're hearing now that's the one and only Mr. Ray White. Good evening, Ray.
Hey, how are you?
Everything okay on your end?
Everything is fine here, man. Just hunkered down and staying out of the storm.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try to get rid of some of this noise that I'm picking up. Live radio.
You're coming from Washington, D.C.? Oh, no. Kids, do you hear that sound? I don't want to go. No.
No matter what, we're connected.
Yeah. So guys, let me tell you what's happening tonight. We're going to have some special guests. A lot of the old Frank Zappa alumni crew is going to be coming on with us. I'm going to surprise you guys as they come aboard. This way, I know I won't lose anybody. And again, I was going to start playing some intro music, but man, we're going to just get started talking. And so Frank died 2 days ago was his anniversary, right?
Yeah, it's December 4th.
Yeah. And what was it, 27 years?
27 years.
27 years.
Yeah.
Amazing, man. It's
yeah. And you two
we all know how fast time goes by.
Yeah, and you two are kind of like the last guys, in the band with him. That was towards the end of his career that you guys left.
Yeah, well, Ike. Chad, yeah, man.
Chad Wackerman, Scott Tunis, Robert Martin.
I need to see Chad, man.
And, so I tried getting a hold of Scott today. I don't know if he got my messages, but I did hook up with Denny today.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, I was trying to get Denny to come on tonight, but he's having some computer issues. And we're going to talk tomorrow about a good date where we could all kind of do it together. And yeah, but he sends me regards.
Same with Denny. He's ready to do it, but tonight wasn't good.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to do? What are we talking about? We have to get a hold of some of the guys. And you guys were on with me a couple of weeks ago. We had a great time. And I think we were continuing on that where we had you guys just told me about the times you toured together, which was pretty those are some great stories that came out of that one. And
81, 82, man, that was just a great band, and Ray and I locked in like, somebody who's got your back, You just
always a good feeling in a band.
It's just effortless, man.
Somebody else is there. Who's that? Is that you? Is that you, Eliot, over on the right side?
Yeah, I got two. I got two of me. I'm so cute. I need two of me.
I see you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get some calls.
I'm trying to get in my Facebook account so I can see if anybody's leaving questions.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're good sound-wise. Am I getting an echo?
Nope, not here.
No? Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, so we're waiting for Don Preston. Don's going to be phoning in just a moment or two. And let's see, who else are we waiting for? Bunk's going to be on with us, I think, tonight. Cool. And I think the elusive Ian Underwood will be on. And I have Sal Marquez on hold. I told him I'd call him later this time. So it's going to be an interesting night.
Yeah, I've never spoken with Sal before, but
yeah,
always interesting to hear each musician's perspective from their time, because it's always different.
It was hell, man. It was pure hell. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I lost it for a second. I lost it for a second.
Hey, there were some moments.
Yeah.
But with proper training and perspective, you learn to take a breath.
That should be Frank's line. That should be Frank's line with proper motivation.
You got to process it, man. It's like, all right, am I really going to react here, or am I just going to mind over matter, say nothing, walk away, and make a more controlled response,
And your controlled response. That's a good one too. I love you, Ed. I'm writing all them down, man. You see your name in the publishing.
You did the same thing. We all did.
So when's the last time you two guys worked together?
Oh, it was 2019, the Hologram Band.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Although I couldn't see it, it was a great time on stage. It was monster.
Yeah.
Having you on that side of the stage and being with you on that side of the stage,
now, I had a little chat with Ian on Friday, and he told me that he didn't get to see the hologram tour, but I guess he saw a sampling of it, and
Well, it was different, because it all had to be timed and matched to the animations, and then there was this huge separation where, I don't know, for me it wasn't so easy to play 25 feet away from the rhythm section.
Yeah.
Where there's no natural, even visual connection. You can see people pulsing and, just playing. So I'm not sure, I don't know what to say about that. I don't think it was a musical highlight. It was fun for, socially.
You just described a room full of 15-year-old boys. You said everything's everybody pulsing. That sounds like me, about 15.
Well,
it was a great time.
Just seeing someone move to the beat helps you stay in sync, or me at least.
But for me to have the first, when we did that thing up in the first little, where were we at that resort that
you mean the rehearsals out?
Yeah, Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
People were coming up crying about it, man. I was amazed. It's like, whoa.
Well, that's true. It's interesting. I've read a lot of people say it was basically the '88 band, but I don't see it that way at all.
No.
Anyway, but whatever. If if that's what you see, that's what it is, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you enjoy doing the hologram? I mean, was it?
I did.
You know, Scott said it was great playing next to Zappa every night, but you know, Scott's take on it.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, it's always good to see Frank, and always good. I mean, one of the great things one of the parts I really liked was that it was syncing to Frank's actual vocal tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to hearing someone else sing them, because there's some tunes that it's got to be Frank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, so I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah.
That part of it was inspiring and it felt like it had some juice to it, you know, obviously, because it's Frank.
Was it a little too gimmicky?
You know, I don't know. Different people see it different ways. For me, it was just difficult musically because I'm behind this big screen of, you know, EMF emitting electronics. I can see part of Ray. I can see Robert from the shoulders up. I can't see anybody else at all, except peripherally through a bunch of wires and stands and shit. I can pretty much see Joe, but I have to turn to do it.
Okay.
So it was not easy musically for me. And it's, again, like you're going to take a band and you're going to separate them by 20 feet. Rhythm section on one side and the, you know, vocalists and orchestration on the other side.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I guess there's no other way to do it, but I was in the back. So I don't know. I'm just speaking honestly. I didn't like it.
Okay. So, I don't know if anybody, I know everybody doesn't know. I don't know if Ray knows this, but, Ed had an injury this week. Did he tell you?
Yeah.
Me?
His arm.
Huh?
I had an interview.
Yeah, did you have an injury this week?
Your arm.
Injury, yes. Yeah, I slipped on the ice.
I thought you said enema.
You hit an enema.
Not this week. Although now that you mention it, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I don't have to go anywhere. What am I talking about?
Cause for the cause.
Yeah.
That makes me think of Roy Estrada.
Okay, we just got a new guest aboard. Mr. Bunk Gardner's with us.
Hey, Bunk.
Hold on here. Okay.
That's Bonnie, I'm assuming.
I just got it set up for him. You know, Bunk is not tech savvy at all. Okay.
I don't know.
He's not. But Bunk is here. Okay.
Okay.
His name.
We're going to wait for Bunk. Ladies and gentlemen, in the listening arena, the one and only Mr. Bunk Gardner is joining the show. And Bunk, of course, one of the original MOIs, Mothers of Invention. And it's great because we're going to have some of the original guys, some of the latter guys. And this may be the first time some of you guys are meeting. You know, I know not you guys in Bunk, but there are some other people coming on in a bit.
Well, I have to let everybody know I'm still a legend in my own mind.
You know what? One of my favorite things from Bunk is just the free playing and matching in a loose way the vocals in, I think it's called Flower Punk.
Okay.
Right, Bunk? Soprano sax?
Yeah, you got it.
Man, that is so great. I've taken that apart and played it slow, and I assume it was kind of like a first or second pass for you.
Yes.
But man, it so perfectly complements the Frank's vocal phrasing.
Yeah.
It's really just like astounding. And it's an example of where, you know, that part of Frank where he would say, you have freedom, just invent. If I don't like it, I'll tell you, but he never said anything. So I don't know. I like that, and I remember that.
My favorite bunk cut is the Dog Breath in the Year of the Plague.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's so good.
Is she looking for the video button?
I don't know.
I think so.
The little video icon at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to repeat all that praise again.
Well, we got it recorded, so we have proof of it. Yeah. So welcome, Bunk. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I am, and let me tell you, my daughter called me the other day, and she said I heard you on the radio. I guess
said it?
An excerpt from the
His daughter.
the Alex Winter documentary film, and on Zappa, and I haven't seen it, but she was very excited that I was on the radio.
I understand you're the star of that, Bunk.
Yeah.
I understand you said it should have been called the Bunk Gardner Band.
Oh yeah, sure. Uh-huh. Well, I would go further and call it the Don and Bunk Band, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that Don was not interviewed. He's right there in L.A. and they don't interview him.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Diamond Bar.
It's like, anyway.
Was that their call or was that Don's call?
No, that's their call.
Yeah. Well, that really sucks.
Yeah, well, it's highly controlled now. And nothing against anybody who was interviewed, but there's a select group that will be interviewed because it maintains a predetermined narrative. And
are you trying to say I was a part of a predetermined narrative?
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you did. I heard you, young Negro.
Had any control over the construction of the film? That all came from ZFT.
Yeah, well,
Alex did a great job. He's a. When I went to do the interview and he opened the door, I looked at him and it just said "F you." And he went, "What?" I went, "You look the same. You look the same, dude." He looks exactly like you did when you did that Bill and Ted thing. And I was like, I'm offended, you know. We got along. You know what I'm saying, man? It's like, dude, I hear you. Oh, come on. Where's those wrinkles? Come on, get with me here. Gray hair, come on.
Yeah.
Nice man, though. Great man.
Well, he's not smoking, Ray.
Hey, I can't help it. This is my dessert. I just had a big dinner.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, so Bunk, who did you work with? The guys who are on with me right now. Did you ever do anything with these two?
No, but you know what?
We did that great tour in 2018.
Oh no, I got to tell you, I worked with Little Richard.
No, he asked about with the band.
No. You mean the grandmothers?
Yeah.
No. You worked with Ed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the grandmothers.
Yeah.
Excuse me for
That goes down for me as like one of the greatest musical experiences in my life.
Wow.
It was so good, man.
Well, that's pretty powerful shit.
You know, it's Don and Bunk and Chris Garcia, and Don's handling the bass and singing, and we're playing a lot of Don's tunes too. And
Yeah.
but it was big houses, and they were sold out, and it was well managed, and there was so much freedom to express, and yet still pay, respectful homage to Frank.
Yeah.
And show Don's influence. I mean, I think Don influenced Frank's writing. Yeah. And, I'm sure you did too, Bunk. I mean,
I think especially on the avant-garde side, you know.
Yeah. Well, didn't Frank used to go to...
That gives the freedom to do whatever comes into your mind, which is a very positive step in being just the creative person you are.
Right.
And how about
Frank gave that permission, or whatever you want to call it, to some players, but not all.
Yeah.
Did you ever do anything with the grandmothers?
No. No. No.
Okay.
I was
So
lost.
did you ever get to work with Bunk?
Nope. No. I was lost in Michigan at the time.
Okay.
The cold winters.
Uh-huh.
I hear you.
You know what I'm talking about.
Hey, I'm from Cleveland.
Oh.
Not far away.
So you remember walking backwards home against the wind from school, huh?
Oh, man.
What's that hotel, rock and roll hotel in Cleveland? Swingo's. Swingo's Keg and Quarter.
Oh, man, I spent a week there one night.
a week one night.
Yeah. Ike and I were going to the laundry, to the cleaners. We were dropping clothes off. And we were going, I forgot, we were walking toward the lake, but we were walking and we were with the wind. How that happened, I don't know. But anyway, so and we turn around and, oh, Lord, I got to walk backwards, half a mile to the hotel.
When I was there, my room was on the bottom floor and the bar is way up on the top floor. So I got in the elevator to go up, and stops on the next floor, and Count Basie gets in.
Really? Dude.
Along with some of his entourage.
Oh,
and then it stops on the next floor, and Joe Cocker gets in.
Get out.
Wow.
Get out.
I'm standing there going,
am I already in the bar? Am I already halfway there?
Wow. And they're all just like, hey, how you doing? Right. You never showed light? Cool. I got into the bar. I could barely walk out of the elevator. I was like,
wow.
I gotta find somebody to tell. Hey, Count Basie, Joe.
You guys want to hear a great elevator story?
Of course.
I'm in Manhattan with a big drummer friend, and we went to see his attorney. And some of the elevators in Manhattan are the size of closets. They're tiny. So we're going down a couple of floors, and Debbie Harry walks in with Chris Stein.
With Chris Stein.
Yeah. So anyway, she's eating Oreos out of her bag. And Chris says to her, Debbie, why don't you slow down on the cookies? We have shows coming up and you got to look good. She takes the bag of Oreos and throws them at him and starts screaming, this is my fucking band. I'll be as fat as I want when I go out there. And me and the drummer friend of mine have nowhere to go.
Fat freedom.
Yeah, those 3 floors felt like you were 7 nights in one day.
Yeah.
That elevator just stopped moving.
You can't even turn away without being like really obvious,
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I like that about Debbie Harry.
Yeah. So, that's my elevator story with famous people.
I wish Robert were here so he could tell you his elevator story about him and what's his name? I write the songs.
Barry
Manilow. That was hilarious.
I remember that.
Dr. Robert asked him about that story. He tells it really well.
Yeah.
Well, he worked with so many people, man. He's got some good stories.
Yeah.
Great Etta James stories.
You see the shots of him in the studio with Wilson Pickett? It's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
He's playing French horn.
Wow. Yeah, he did a lot of the MFSB stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was Robert Martin. So Ed, let's tell everybody what we plan on doing everything with this little radio thing. We're going to do that together every other week.
I think it's going to be like, we'll focus on some music and as it relates, but an art-influenced exploration of the social climate without getting too crazy,
right.
And just the current situation, because it's not easy for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear everybody I talk to, and I know Eliot is the same for you. This expresses how like, wow, man, this is a test. This is a real test. Just to get through this without, either going crazy or caving in from isolation.
Yeah.
Watch those documentaries.
But we also want to introduce people to music that they might not have come across.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, like, music from all parts of the world and different things that a lot of people might have never heard or thought of. That, when you hear it, it's like, it just widens your scope of what is, and also influences, not especially, but just one great example is traditional West African music.
Right.
You listen to that and you find those patterns and you realize, wait a minute, man. I hear that in Black American music. I hear it in James Brown. I hear it in Robert Johnson. I hear all this stuff, and understanding that the guitar really is of African origin, and what the guitar has come to mean. Socially. So I think that kind of understanding is interesting and meaningful.
Yeah, and Ed studied world music. And I was involved with a lot of different world music too, going through the clubs I ran and things like that. I worked with guys like Osabisa. Remember those guys?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, they were great. I did a lot of reggae work, did a lot of work with the Rastas, and between the two of us, we plan on doing a real interesting thing.
And reggae, reggae can be like a whole bunch of shows. Just that.
Yeah.
Is like, I love reggae,
Yeah.
And there's so much meaning to it, especially the advent of reggae or the transition from ska to reggae. And it was really the Wailers who exemplified that. But what's the guy's name who owned the studio? Say it.
Jimmy Cliff?
Well, Jimmy Cliff, yeah, right. He was before the Wailers, right?
Yeah. And they had
that great soundtrack, man. Harder they come. Well,
yeah.
That record changed
Johnny
my
Nash?
life. What's that?
Johnny Nash had the first hit.
What was that? What's the hit?
I'll tell you in a second. It just slipped my mind. And how about the song The Israelites?
Oh, well, is that Johnny Nash?
No, that wasn't Johnny Nash. That was, God, my brain is like shot today.
That's an important tune.
Nash did I Can See Clearly Now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Desmond Decker did The Israelites.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have a friend who's an expert on that. I mean, he just knows every detail, minutia.
Uh-huh.
We should bring him on because he got his master's degree in the history of reggae.
Really?
Yeah. And, I don't know. Personally, I just feel like that needs to be passed on, that information. It needs to be kept alive.
Yeah.
Because it's important and it's an important mindset. We don't see it really too much right now, but the more people can be aware of it and be strengthened by the pioneers who made it happen.
Uh-huh.
I think it's therapeutic.
Well, Ike had pneumonia. That time we were in Cologne. He was really sick, and we went to see Bob Marley, and we walked in, and the whole place was just everything was just going like that.
Yeah.
And
isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and all of a sudden Ike started bouncing, and he was not sick anymore. When we left the place, I don't know if it was the ganja or what, but he was feeling all right,
Yeah.
but it's just
right.
that unifying thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's those, and all those rhythms come from West Africa. I mean, traditional West Africa, going back a couple hundred years more.
Yeah. Check out this girl named Yemi, Yemi Alade, I think it's Allade.
Yeah.
You know, Nigeria. Oh, killer. I've been watching all this stuff and reconnecting.
This makes me want to go to Africa.
Well, there was King Sunny. Remember King Sunny Ade?
King Sunny Ade, yeah.
And Fela Kuti.
Yeah. Fela Kuti, man.
The grandmother, Miriam Makeba, Leta Umbulu.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know her.
Oh,
yeah, you know Miriam Makeba?
Oh, man, yes.
She was like the first. Also, guys like Manu Dibango.
Okay, so check him out.
Yeah, Manu Dibango, Sol Mukasa.
Yeah. Lee Scratch Perry, that's the name I was looking for.
Oh, Lee, yeah.
That he was the innovator of what became dub.
Yeah.
Owning the studio.
Yep.
But what a character. He gets so pissed off at the music business that he burns the entire studio to the ground.
Yeah. You know, he'll only urinate in bottles, and then he buries them. He's a madman.
Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say?
Yeah, he'll only urinate in bottles.
Oh.
And then he buries the bottles.
Hidden treasure.
Yeah.
That gives another meaning to a message in a bottle.
Yes.
Molotov cocktail.
Where's Bunk? Is Bunk still with us?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the video up, I think.
Yeah.
So Bunk, tell us some stuff, man. Tell us some stuff about like the chemistry of the original Mothers and how it worked.
Well, this was early 1960s. And because my brother was in the Army with Don, we bumped into him as soon as we got out here. But Don was always into avant-garde, classical, not very much rock and roll, but had a very diverse, collection.
Including electronics, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think when Frank came over, he noticed Don's collection that was pretty diverse. And I think that really aided him in more ways than one, because I think at one point Don took an audition and Frank said, man, you're not into it at this point. You don't quite understand rock and roll, piano wise, which was true. I mean, when you grow up playing jazz, there was at least a challenge there musically that you didn't see in a, very fundamental rock and roll music. And also the chance to improvise on a theme was really a challenge because there were so many fundamental chord changes and voices and whatever in music that I didn't hear, or Frank didn't hear, or Don didn't hear in the early days of rock and roll. Mm-hmm. So I think that there were a lot of challenges there, I think, for Don, that it was just a lot more interesting to look into. But, eventually Don got to play with a few bands and went back and took another audition and actually, got in the band. And
man, he added so much.
Yeah.
And, I think of Don as one of the people that influenced Frank's direction and composing.
Yeah. Well, I think one quality, because you can look at a lot of musicians who played one way their whole life. They didn't accept a lot of other art forms musically.
Right.
And listen, I met so many guys that said rock and roll, that's it. There is nothing else.
Yeah.
And that is a very narrow approach to music in general. And I think you can borrow from so many other areas, rhythmically, melodically, so many things there that that I find deeply interesting, and even religiously. There's some things.
You nailed it, dude.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, I was just thinking, there's a Walter Hawkins in the Love Center Choir from Oakland, California, and they started playing this music, gospel music, and they had all these beautiful chord changes. And beautiful. It was like people in the church, older black people in the church, were saying, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't bring that music in here. What's that music? It's just a diminishing augmented chord. Give me a break." But it's music is so fluid. It's so fluid, and all of a sudden, everybody in America cops that style because it was freeing. It's like rock and roll, 1-4-5. I can only do that so many times before I have to just go outside and jump off the railing out here.
Yeah.
Well, keep going, Bunk.
Well, anyhow, I think, in the early days, there was a lot of evolution there, especially for Frank, because, in the basic rehearsals, which, could last for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, depending on, but, this process of playing a line and then saying, you play that line, okay? And I would write the line down, but regardless of that, he would give the line to somebody else and change the line and give it to somebody else. And that whole thing, it was, because the rest of the guys couldn't read music, in essence, that's how you really retain things, melodically and rhythmically, when you're in that kind of a rehearsal environment.
Right.
Where you know what you're supposed to do and you remember your line, unless you're out of it. But then again, for the most part, that's how it really evolved. And again, at a lot of points, Frank would all of a sudden change a rhythm to a song.
Yeah.
Just because it gave it another feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's the evolution of thinking about changing things.
Possibilities, yeah.
Which Frank was, that was the one thing.
Again, that's a real creative process. I think that is necessary in your own evolution of things that you accept in music, and you listen to all other forms. And, and not to digress, but
it's great, man. I love
going to a friend's house and I taught this friend's daughter, and she was into a dance recital. And after the recital, I asked her, I said, when you choreograph something, are you thinking about a bunch of these moves that you want to do? Or is it some rhythm or melody that you heard that stimulated, you to choreograph something? But again, there's something there that, something that sparks you. And it could be, a chord progression. It could be a rhythm. It could be a lot of other things that got you to sit down and write something.
Yes.
Anyhow.
Keep going, man. This is like, I need this. This is great.
Well, in the whole process, certainly Frank, in more ways than one. And certainly his guitar playing changed in a lot of ways. Because honestly, the way Frank wrote, I used to think about his approach to mathematics, because I think his father was a mathematician.
When I joined the band, he pulled out this book of mathematical proportions that his father wrote.
Oh, wow.
And he said his father told him, if you write your music paying attention to these proportions, how they relate to music, your music will be strong and it'll be great.
Well, I look at a lot of this that way too, especially in Frank's playing. But I have to emphasize this. Personally, for me, it's something from the heart, the warmth, the in the body experience that I need, rather than looking at something in a little more mathematical approach. And let me say this. I remember Frank coming to a rehearsal, and he put all the parts down and we played it, and Frank didn't say anything. But he wrote a part for B-flat trumpet, and my brother actually was playing C trumpet. So Frank didn't know that, but I don't think he actually knew what it was going to sound like until we played it. Not that that means anything, but, you know, I mean, when you grow up and you hear Mozart and Ludwig and, you know, some of the other, they already knew what it sounded like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And anyhow, that's just off of the cuff for me.
But am I right in assuming that this unexpected happy mistake was great and Frank kept it?
You know, I don't know why I threw that out, but for me, I want to be able to know when I write something or whatever, you know what it's going to sound like. Yeah. I don't think Frank knew that in the beginning.
Oh, I agree with you, even through the end. I saw him take stuff that worked great, like before we did this London Symphony Orchestra stuff, and he rewrote it all, like right before the recording, rearranged it, revoiced it and everything. And it was clear he didn't know what it was going to sound like, but he had a method to experiment with. And, I mean, personally, I like the originals more than what was recorded, but, you know, he liked, what was the guy's name? Polish composer, starts with a P. Anyway, can't remember. But it sounded like that. You know, it sounded like experimental 20th century music, polytonal.
Oh. Okay. But, you know, Ed, I forget, a couple of years ago, we went to Paris, and there was a Zappa festival for the weekend. And a lot of people, and I've met a couple of arrangers that wrote a lot of stuff for Frank. And one of the questions I asked him was, Frank never wrote A Place to Breathe for a woodwind instrument. How did you conduct rewriting some of the parts? Anyhow, I only threw that in, but let me say this, that I heard a lot of Frank's stuff played, and I also heard some of this, there was also a symphony orchestra playing some of his things. And one of the things I heard was Dupree's Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it.
I love it too.
Anyhow, it was so dense that it actually got off the ground, because my feeling for Dupree's Paradise, it can swing its ass off, you know, when you play it. Anyhow,
yeah, we played it in 2018.
Yes. But anyhow, I think some of Frank's arrangements, again, there was just too many people playing stuff that the simpler things, I think, actually sounded better in some ways than some of the things that were overly orchestrated for a symphony.
I agree with you. But sometimes it worked, like this density had a powerful effect. He kind of hit a good place, I think, in terms of balance with Grand Wazoo in that regard.
Yeah.
But yes, I would agree with you. And I think that's where it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he was with the early mothers, but with me, he said, you can play it or not play it. Use your ear for the best orchestral effect. And you can also reharmonize it if you want to. Mm-hmm. So that freedom allowed for there to be, I could make it dense or sparse.
Yeah.
Based on my choice to play or not.
Yeah. And you know something, Ed, in the early days, I think, writing and doing all these things, he was really frustrated with the record companies in terms of censorship of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And it was a fight for every word all along the way.
Oh, man.
That, it's like in the very early days we played with Lenny Bruce.
Right.
And look what they did to him.
Yeah. Oh, they destroyed
him. He went down south, and every time he went to work, they arrested him.
Right.
Which
for saying things that we say every day. Yeah, for saying things that we say every day. His fight was not only for his lyrics, but it was for everybody else. Because, come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. It was a fight against censorship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There'd be no SNL if it wasn't for Lenny Bruce.
Yes. Yes.
And Frank.
Another pioneer, man, that really took it on the chin, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It was brutal what they did to Lenny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Herb Cohen managed him as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a Herb Cohen artist.
Really?
Yeah.
At the same time that Frank was?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And Zero Mostel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zero Mostel, Lenny, and Frank Zappa. Those three big ones at the end of the 60s. With Buckley. With Tim Buckley.
So, Bunk, how was Frank like, in those original days, in terms of his interaction or friendliness or openness or lack thereof with the band?
God, I don't mean to get religious here.
No, get religious, please.
I don't know. You know what, Ed? Because I wasn't there in the beginning. Jimmy and Roy were there, okay? And again,
yeah.
Their treatment by Frank, I couldn't accept. And I said to myself, the way he treated them, because, again, Ed, when you can't read music, there can be aspersions in terms of you're not really a musician,
Yeah.
Right.
In some ways, okay? And Jimmy was a very basic rhythm player. And actually, Frank wanted more than that. And that's why when we got our Trip in the band with the two drums, it was a great marriage. But again, going back to Roy and And Roy had a thing about being a Mexican and not being really self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And there were issues there that Frank would kind of make them aware of it. But again,
monopolized on, right?
Yes. And when I saw things that I didn't like, I said to myself, I don't think I'm ever actually going to be a friend of Frank's, because I can't accept that kind of treatment from the originals that contributed so much. And Frank in the early days didn't acknowledge it that much.
Interesting.
That hurt me.
I mean, I had similar feelings in my time too about, like, mistreatment of people of anybody, but I guess even more so the people that had contributed a lot for years, like Bruce Fowler, that I had so much respect for. And, but going back to what you were talking about, it's interesting that when Artie Tripp came on board, Frank kept Jimmy playing trumpet, which means that his aesthetic, his presence, his ideas, his, who he was as an individual was an important part of the vibe that came off the stage.
Yeah. Well, and I remember when we worked at the Garrick Theater, Frank had Jimmy go into the bathroom to practice his, playing the trumpet, And, it's like, it was sometimes threats. If you, really can't play your part kind of thing, well, anyhow.
Right.
I don't want to actually go back into the critiquing, of guys in the band that, in the early days. I don't think it was necessary. But I think the love of everybody for each other in the band overcame a lot of things. And very early on, it was really established that we needed to make Frank laugh. And it came very easily to us. And again, don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. That, again, being the head of a band, there's a lot of things there that really encompasses things that I don't want to get into, but I think that laughter, again, is necessary in the pursuit of perfection. And Frank was in a dire straits for perfection. I mean, that was the tantamount to the whole object of the band.
Wow.
Let me just interject for 1 second. I spoke to Ian on Friday, and I asked him, did he consider Frank to be a friend of his? And he said no. He said Frank really didn't have friends, and he said he doesn't know if he would have wanted him to be a friend. He didn't get into details. He said, I respected the man's music, and that was enough for me, And that seems to be the consensus on a lot of the Zappa people.
There was only one way to be Frank's friend. It had to be a double standard, where if you love Frank and if you're willing to give to him what you give to a friend, you had to be unconditional. But from Frank, it's very conditional. And so, I mean, my experience, I'm talking for myself, to get to that place with him, because he would treat you like a friend a lot of times. And suddenly he'd turn around and ignore you, or just like, ambush. So I just finally realized it's a double standard. And if I'm willing to be unconditional and I can accept his conditional, then Yeah, that's an interesting kind of friendship. I wouldn't do it with most people. I don't really do it with anybody. But there was some kind of affection anyway, regardless of all the difficulty that I think most people develop to some degree. For Frank.
Yeah. Well, and I could go into several, instances, but I think that there was a lot of respect there. But
Right.
at the same time, because a lot of times right after a performance, Frank would start to critique our performance and talk about a few of the mistakes. And, but there were times that Frank made mistakes and we knew it, but he wouldn't acknowledge it. But there was a thing, and I probably talked about this before in the early days. Frank would jump up in the air, and when he came back down, he expected you to know what new song we were going to go into. And when that happened, sometimes it was just magic. Everybody was on the same, wavelength.
Right.
For the most part. And that comes with the stability of being in a band together. And I associate that with sports in some ways too. When you have somebody you work with in the course of many, many back and forth, it's a little mental telepathy that is necessary for those magic moments at nights. And we certainly had that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I agree. That's why I'm asking all this, is because I think there's this chemistry that the early mothers had that never happened in any subsequent band.
Right.
And it's almost like you can't verbalize it.
Well, I can, because when you have hired hands, there isn't the kind of investment, mentally, physically, and whatever, that is necessary to have those magic moments and those, those very creative moments that, for me, it could be I'm playing a solo and the drummer could do something that just said, wow. And I would incorporate what he did in my solo. I mean, you work off of other people in the band, and it could be from the bass, it could be from anybody in the group. That for me is the absolute, climax of the evening, that I could have played two notes and I say, Bunk, Jesus Christ, I love those two notes that you played.
Absolutely.
Maybe the rest of it I could take a shit on. But I think that's where it can come from. In just the judgment of being a band and having guys that you hired that are very adequate and personally very, very good musicians.
And connected on a...
You nailed it.
You could be friends with the band.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I got to go. Love you. Bunk, it was
All right,
nice talking to you, man, and I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back here, and my wife is looking at me with that look. Oh, that's not my wife's little my girlfriend.
Okay.
I got away with that one. Did you hear me? No, good.
Oh, you did. You didn't get away.
Okay, my friend.
Talk to you later, man.
Yeah, great seeing you, Ray.
Stay safe.
All right, Ray.
At some point.
Be good, Ray.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Will do.
Okay.
All right, Ray.
Okay, so we're down one man. Okay. So Bunk, keep it going.
Bunk, you know how there's this, it's not really a theory. It's a point that's made that kind of from the time your personality is formed as a child, by the time you're, I don't know, but 7 or 12, that's you. And you don't really essential things don't really change that much afterwards. So when I hear you describe this stuff, I can totally see it in my own experiences in the bands I was in, because it was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed it was different, though, than what you've described.
In what way?
Well, just that there was less edginess and walls and manipulation going on from Frank. That it was more colleagues, peers, than, I'm the boss and you guys work for me.
Well, toward the end, I think that started to creep in. But, in the early days, there were so many people. I met Salvador Dali. I met the piano player, Gould. To deal with all stardom and people who loved the band in itself was really a novel experience personally for me. But, again, on a daily basis, there was so much to have to retain with new music on a daily basis. Besides, everybody else, dealing with where they were, finding a place to stay and, all these other, influences that sometimes music became secondary in some ways. But
interesting. You mean like finding a place to stay when you're touring, or?
Well, especially in New York, God.
Right.
But yeah. I think that it was. It just seemed that even if we weren't rehearsing, we were in a studio recording something, and it was all on all new stuff. And there's something about when Frank was in a studio, and I know this might sound weird, he loved playing with knobs. He would experiment and do all these things to speed up, slow it down, change a lot of things that.
I know what you mean. With analog tape. Yeah.
Well,
right.
Frank loved that environment. I was just there to play whatever he just wrote. And for me, it was it's more than a technical challenge. It's more of embracing whatever he wrote, and me playing it, but my interpretation of it. And that's not easy to do, because the technical challenge just comes to the forefront of executing whatever the fuck he wrote at a speed that he wanted, that it's hard to say, you know what, I want to put a little warmth or, a personal, anyhow.
I get it. It's okay. You're just clinging to the edge by your fingertips to make it and do your job,
Yes. Yeah.
My experiences were the same.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have to attribute Frank to, my own, advances, in music in general, as far as, if you play one that's one thing, but to try and play as many instruments as I did and not having the time to put into technically advance or sound wise or do a lot, that was, again, it still is a challenge, for me at this point in my life, which I can't do what I used to, but there was always personally that challenge for me at that point in the band.
Yeah, I understand fully what you're saying.
Can you guys see Bunk? Can you see him?
No.
No.
Would you like to see him?
Yes.
Sure.
How do we do it?
There should be a little camera icon, probably a line drawn through it.
What's this? No. What's this?
Push that.
Okay, hold on. What about that? Oh, no.
I love Bunk.
No, we don't want to hide. Okay.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Eliot. I'm just.
Hey, Bonnie.
I'm trying to. I know we could see you guys, but I'd like you to see Bunk. Okay, hold on. Would this be?
I'd like to see Bunk.
Okay, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. There you go.
Is that it?
Man, look at that good-looking devil.
Hey,
87.
Bunk.
Wow. Wow. Looking good, Mr. Gardner.
Yeah.
Hi, Eliot. Hi,
Hey, Bonnie. Hey,
hi,
sweetheart.
Ray.
Bonnie.
I met you, Ray, but anyway, I'm
Yeah,
glad
Ray
you guys
left.
are all having your chat.
Okay.
I like that painting in the background there, Bunk.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we're back in person. I have to figure out where all the other guys, how they disappeared on me. But we'll get them in a minute. So Bunk, you're filling us in so much, and I spoke to Ed. And Ed, you pretty much have the same experiences.
That's what I find so interesting from hearing this stuff from Bunk, is that I assumed it was different than what he's described, but it's so much like what I experienced.
Yeah.
I mean,
you told me the stories where you're just kind of hanging on by your nails.
yeah, where it's just like, say a prayer, throw your body at the instrument, and, the fear would drive me to do it right. Even though it's like Bunk says, Frank would write for winds, but there's no place to breathe. Well, he'd write for marimba where there's no place to make the changes, the distance, like something that's like, intervals that are more than an octave apart, but they're consecutive. And how do you do that? I mean, you could do it if it's just one, but when it's a series of them and you have to double naturally with one hand or the other, that is, but this is the thing. People at the time, so he writes this music, and people at the time consider it to be impossible. But then somebody figures out how to do it, one of the musicians. Now it's possible. So a bunch of other musicians learn it. And now something like that was how it was with the Black Page. Something that was considered impossible is suddenly possible, and it raises the bar, and it's a new standard.
I don't think Frank's knowledge of other instruments was that broad.
No, I think he didn't care.
Well, but one thing I realized very early, Ed, was that certain keys for guitar are much easier when it comes to facility. And I found myself in the key of F sharp or the key of B, and they're all difficult keys to really execute fast, improvisation, whatever.
Right.
But after a while, you have to get used to that. But it dawned on me that it's easier on guitar playing in those keys. So you just have to deal with that aspect of it. But again, in playing normal jobs, you get real easy keys playing, stuff that makes it a lot easier in terms of execution and speed. But again, that's just something that you adapt to and you accept that it's up to you. Okay.
It was the same for me because I grew up being comfortable in flat keys. F, B flat, E flat, A flat, that I could just kind of like flow. But to be able to develop that same fluidity in guitar keys, A, E, B, D, it's a completely different thing in terms of just.
And I wondered why it was never a flat key. And what do you got against flats that there's a discrimination between flats and sharps?
Right.
That's
a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, okay.
That was a big part of, my own training and learning to be fluent in Frank's music, and his vocabulary as a composer was getting comfortable in sharp keys.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they say that Johnny Johnson wrote mostly Chuck Berry tunes because they were in the key of C, and that's not a guitar key?
But it's a piano key, so
yeah.
For that music in his era,
yeah,
I'm sure that.
Yeah, that's why they tried suing Chuck because Johnny said he wrote them all, that Chuck is stealing them from him because take a look at the keys they're in.
Well, but what's interesting is in avant-garde, it doesn't matter what key. It doesn't. Because you can do whatever you want to do. So, and there's actually a lot more freedom in ways than one when you get into that area. And I think, in some ways that's Don, I love that kind of stuff in terms of, electronics and all this weirdness and whatever.
Right.
Just to break up, rock and roll beating you over the head, every minute, so there's things.
Because I'm sure for Don it was the same way. He's playing in flat keys, in his experience prior.
Yeah. Well, it's,
But there's even in avant-garde, it still has to make sense. There still has to be form and patterns and some consistency where it's resolves, even though it's 12 tone essentially. So I ultimately for me, I found the two blending and it carrying over and learning that it's basically B, but if I go pentatonic and blend the F pentatonic with it, now it's a tension area that can be resolved back to B,
Yeah.
Nicholas Slonimsky illustrated a lot of that stuff.
I loved his book.
Oh man, me too.
It's, I don't even know my terminology to use when I went through that. It's like taking something and then turning it upside down and then making it sideways and then, doing all these things that you never thought about.
You're right.
Really an incredible mind there in more ways.
Oh, it's great. It's like it's an instructional to polytonality.
Yeah.
And I heard one of his assistants at one point in an interview said it's literally, I don't know if this is true, but this is what this woman said. Every possible combination of notes mathematically.
Yeah. Can you do it on Zoom?
That exists.
Yeah.
Did you get the link I sent you?
Who are you talking to?
Yeah. Phone in, use one of those phone numbers, and then after you dial it, their voice will come on and tell you, what to do. You just pretty much have to put a pound sign in it. It's all in that same sheet I sent you, towards the bottom of the sheet.
What happens if I think it'll stay on. I got to go look at my Facebook messages because I asked people to send in
pick one. They all go to the same place. Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah, just grab one of those numbers. Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can get here. Okay, something ended. Hey, where'd Ed go?
I'm here. I'm looking at Facebook messages. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I asked people, I said, we're going to be doing this show, so if you have questions, send them in. But I didn't realize my other iPad's not working. So this question says, this is from Noah Campbell. It says, I saw your post about the radio show and looking for questions. I think you should relay the information that you once gave me about Frank's interest in numerology, which was given to him by his father, and how it influenced his music. That information is not out there at all, and it lends more interest to the fact that Noah interprets it as an occult side. I don't really interpret it that way, but who knows? It peaks out from there, and he was too enamored with portraying himself as the great atheistic skeptic. Well, that's kind of true. Interesting.
Well,
all right, I'm going to try to come back now.
Yeah, you actually, we spoke about numerology earlier.
We did. We talked about that exact thing.
Yes.
So let's see. all right, I'm finding my way back into Zoom. I should have realized that it's just not so easy.
Just go back. There should be something that says back.
I think I have to go back to the email you sent. And then just press that button.
No. Wait, hold on. Oh, I hate Zoom. There you go.
You're right.
Okay, we have somebody just came aboard. I don't know who it is. It says Stella. Who is this? Stella. I think it's Sal.
It's Don Preston.
Oh, it's Don Preston.
Don Preston.
Hey. Oh.
I don't know where the Stella came from.
I don't know.
Stella.
Welcome, Donald.
Yeah.
There.
There I am.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Hey guys. Hi, Ed.
Good to see you.
So, we got the two tennis players.
Oh, Bunk.
Yeah, Bunk's here.
Hi, man.
Hi, Don.
Bonnie's still here. Okay, so, Mr. Preston.
Yeah.
You have a show coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, December 18th at the World Stage, theworldstage.org,
right.
8:00.
Where is that?
Well, the World Stage is a club in Leimert Park, which is South LA.
Uh-huh.
And they've been doing this for quite some time now, and it's like no audience, bunch of microphones, and a nice grand piano, and doing this with a trio.
Oh, cool.
Bass, drums, and piano.
Well, man, it's any way to make it happen is good now these days.
Well, this is going to be fun for me, playing a bunch of stuff that I haven't played for a long time. Let's see. I'm doing one Zappa song, A Pound for Brown. but real fast.
Good.
Yeah.
Who's the trio? Who's the other two guys?
Uh-huh.
So, they wanted a trio, Bunk. Sorry.
How many times have you heard that, Bunk?
Yeah.
Well, so how does this work? Is there actually, what do you guys, you pass around the, hat at the end of the night, the virtual hat?
They, they at various, like in between songs or something, they'll put a sign on the screen saying, you can donate, any money you donate would be appreciated, but you don't have to. So you can watch the show for free, or you're so inclined. If you like the music, put some money in the pot.
Yeah, that's how it works these days.
Paid anyhow, so it doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
So, no camera.
So who's Stella? Is Stella your girlfriend?
I don't know who Stella is. I don't know where that came from.
Who are the other two guys in the trio?
Chris Garcia, who you know pretty well, and Anders Swanson,
bass
player, who's plays upright bass, and Anders is great. He's got perfect pitch. He knows where you're going when you're going. Like I can go anywhere, and he'll be right there with me.
That's so great. I was saying earlier that one of the things I love so much about the 2018 tour we did was that there was so much freedom, and that it was so much of your music, and then some of Frank's.
Yeah.
Which totally fit together because I think you influenced Frank's writing style.
Now you're starting to look like me, Ed, with your beard and everything.
Yeah, well, the lockdown, I just figured kind of what the fuck.
We all look like brothers here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cyber brothers.
Yeah, we're all kind of gray with beards. I mean, what happened to us? I mean, I know you guys are getting older, but me too now.
Adding a little character here.
Did you turn 66 recently?
Who, me?
Eliot.
Wait, say that again?
Did you turn 66?
5.
Oh, so you're a couple months. Oh, you're like 8 months
I'm
younger than me.
I just turned 65.
Ah.
I just look 66.
I'll be 66 in January.
Oh, okay.
But, like Don and Bunk.
Yeah.
I feel younger.
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, those old Mothers of Invention guys stay in shape. We didn't.
Oh, I do. I'm in shape.
I
don't play tennis, though. I wish I did. I admire that. Do you guys still play?
We haven't in the last month.
Wow. Is it allowed?
Last month, I haven't played in this millennium.
I used to play a lot when I was younger, and I think, I didn't know you guys, Don Bunk, you don't have any trouble with your knees playing tennis?
No.
That is amazing, man. That's usually what gives everybody trouble.
Yeah.
No, they don't, because I use them so much.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm 88 and I'm still running.
Wow. Oh, you still run?
Well, I'm still swimming.
When you're old is when you stop running. That's my theory.
Well, I stopped running at 45 because all my friends who ran were developing real knee trouble.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have that.
Yeah.
So I've run some since then, but I used to do it like every day, 4 or 5 miles. But I would like to get back into it and do it again.
Yeah.
But I have to do it slowly so I don't incur damage.
Well, I think swimming is the safest way to go.
That's what Bob Dylan does.
Yeah.
Bunk is a big swimmer.
Yeah.
I have a pool, but it was closed all summer.
Yeah. I walk 2 or 3 miles a day. That's what I do. Outside of that,
good.
Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about it for me. I exercise my right not to exercise.
Well, walking is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so back to work.
Back to work.
Don, we were talking about Frank earlier. I spoke to Ian. In fact, I'm trying to get him online with us soon. I asked Ian if he felt that Frank was a friend of his, and he said that Frank didn't really have friends. You either respected him for his music, or that was pretty much what you had in common was the music. And it looked like a lot of guys felt the same way. I don't know how you felt about it.
My answer about that is like, if you ask me about Frank, it depends on what band you're talking about.
Okay.
Because he was a different person in each band. I was in 3 different bands.
Thanks for saying that.
He was different in each band.
And he was also different with each musician.
Yeah, true.
So you kind of put those two together and you realize how much nuance, how much detail there really is. If somebody's interested in Frank, to reveal if you really want to understand him.
Yeah. Well, you being the longest member of anyone, you were in the band longer than anyone.
I guess I'm on the most records. But that's what they say. I don't count them. I'm not, I don't even have them. So, but.
Well, it gives you a different perspective. You were even in the '88 band, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there for '88, and Frank, but Frank wasn't.
Yeah.
Frank. No.
Too bad, man. We missed him.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about what happened with that band, and I still don't know what happened.
Well, this is part of it, in my opinion. You know how Frank had this love-hate things with his musicians?
Yeah.
And part of him really loved you or what you did. And then a part of him really hated you or like if it involved the union any of that stuff. And so I think in '88, Frank was sick. Only he knew it at first, but it was obvious he wasn't himself. There was no fun or creativity going on. I think he realized it was like a last chance to really live out the hate part. Oh, and he didn't do it directly. He put together a situation where people were suffering, and he thought it was funny. But people were really suffering.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not even saying this to diss him. It's just more like acknowledging it,
Well, I remember one time Frank was so pissed off after the show, and somebody asked him, why was he so angry? And he said, because the audience applauded more for the solos than they did for my music.
Wow.
And I think, Bunk, you can confirm that as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
don't steal the limelight.
Oh, other people's solos.
Yes, other people.
Oh.
Of course.
Hey, Don, you were there. What happened with the Flo and Eddie phase? How did that finally end? I know it ended when Frank got hurt.
Actually, yeah. I mean, considering the week before that, the club burned down.
Yeah.
Which the tour was printed on a box of matches, and so the club burned down. And then a few days after that, some irate customer in the audience thought his girl was looking at Zappa too much, and he ran up there and pushed Zappa into the orchestra pit.
Man, oh man.
And Herb Cohen beat the shit out of him.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Oh boy. Yeah, I'll never forget that. And then I went on a tour with Flo and Eddie.
Yeah.
And we played in the same theater exactly 1 year after that happened. And it was the same day that same guy got released from jail or prison.
No shit.
And we were kind of afraid like he's going to come up.
Gonna come back.
But that never happened.
Wow.
Well, because I used to work with Mark and Howard, and there were stories going around that they poured coffee or something on his on his transcripts and things, and ruined his music. They were trying to get out of the deal with him.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know about that.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a true story.
Well, I mean, there wasn't really a lot of time. I mean, I think I went on 2 or 3 tours with that group.
Right.
And one of them ending up with, the club burning down and Zappa thrown in the orchestra pit. And when the club burned down, there was the weird things. I had 3 gongs then. One is a 30-inch hasty gong that I bought in 1965, something like that. And they were all gone the next day. I went there the next day to get them.
Yeah.
And they were all gone. I think the fire department probably stole them.
Oh man, that's I can feel about that, especially a gong.
Well,
any instrument.
The pasty was great, but I had a Zildjian giant. It was flat,
Yeah, I know those Zildjian gongs
with
a hole in the middle.
Yeah, right. Oh dear! But I bought the same gong, 30-inch pasty gong, 2 years ago. And,
oh, wow!
I just love it. It's just so
symphonic, a Pisces symphonic.
Yeah, the orchestra.
Yeah, 30. Yeah.
Well, we always needed the gong to play King Kong.
Yes, of course.
Well,
I'm sure Ed did that as well.
So, so you kind of, what's that, the Flo and Eddie phase, that was about the end of it with you and Frank.
No.
No. Ainsley
I was in the 74 band. I was not as a band member, but I was a guest artist.
Right.
So I did 3 days at the Roxy and then toured across the United States. And Wildflower actually had the same position as me. He and I were both guest artists, and after that tour across the United States, we were no longer in the band or around the band.
And you, of course, made the movie 200 Motels.
Yeah, that was fun. That was like 1971, I think, something like that.
Right. Yeah. 71, 72. Okay, and Bunk, you never had a chance to go back and play with Frank.
No, but I forget what year it was. He called the house, and I was working at the time, so he never called back.
Okay.
But I I never had the feeling of actually wanting to go back to play, because unless it would be with some of the guys in the original band, right. I never got the feeling that I could contribute like I did originally. And, you can't recapture some earlier feelings and environment.
Right.
And, I didn't feel the need to try and recreate that in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But I'm sure in more ways than one, Frank went through quite a few changes himself, physically and mentally, that for the better or the worse, I don't know.
Right.
But I definitely think that when you work for a perfectionist, and when I say that, it also deals with the time. And that goes back to the Reuben and the Jets album that we made. He felt that there was something inferior about the rhythm track, which I did not feel that way, but he had two musicians to replay the whole rhythm track. I forget who it was, Max Bennett and John Guerin.
Yeah.
And he paid them like $10,000,
Oh, God.
But when I heard the album and the difference between the music and the 90s rhythm section, I threw up.
I threw my album out. I thought it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Max
I
just died.
at first thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
But sometimes Frank's humor was a little on the strange side also.
Oh, God, man. At the expense of other people's well-being.
Yes.
Often.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys knew Max at all, but I played with him a lot before I joined the Mothers. And he died about 3 months ago.
Oh.
Not related, just old age.
Oh.
Had too much alcohol? I don't know.
Well, I think it was terrible when those albums came out. There was a couple of them. It wasn't just Reuben, right? There was 2 or 3 that came out. I think.
Well, he redid the rhythm section in the mid-'80s of a couple of the original Mothers, and he had Chad, who was a great drummer and a great guy, and Scott, fine, as a musician and all that. But he replaced like Jimmy Carl and Roy, and it was better before.
Yeah.
It just sounded weird.
Yeah.
And Chad told me the same thing. It's like the whole time he's going, why are we doing this? It was fine the way it is. It had a vibe. I can't reproduce that vibe.
Right.
I have a feeling it had a lot to do with Roy. He was such a great bass player, underrated, and
I agree.
Yeah.
I worked with this incredible jazz bass player, Buell Neidlinger.
I know Buell.
And you really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's dead too. But he thought Roy was the greatest.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, Roy wound up with Little Feat.
Right. Yeah, no, Roy, he's solid as a bass player, and
solid.
Well, you guys were there with Lowell George too, right?
I knew Lowell in 19 when was that? 1966.
Uh-huh.
He was playing at the what was the name of that club?
Not the Warehouse.
No, it's the place the Mothers played at for I don't know how many times.
Oh, Whiskey?
Yeah, the Whiskey. So I'd always see him at the Whiskey and his band. Same drummer that he had later on.
Richie,
yeah.
Yeah.
Great drummer.
Great drummer.
Yeah. Oh. But then he did a little stint with you guys, right?
Yeah, he think he was in the band for about 8-9 months, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. And he was a tough guy to deal with.
Well, he had that humor
right.
back in those days, and of course Frank knew him forever too. And
yep.
Logical choice. Not many people know this, but Lowell was a great shakuhachi player. Studied in Japan for like 3 years or something like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty hard instrument.
That's shakuhachi.
I had one for a while. My wife threw it out.
Wife threw it out.
Wow.
I miss old Hollywood. I just caught the tail end of it, but film scoring and studio work and this, people playing, and it was a whole industry. And now that it's gone, or maybe it's coming back, but last I know it's gone. And I left there because it was gone. But I don't know. I miss it.
Mm-hmm.
The good, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all as Hollywood. But there was something cool. There was something great about it.
Yeah.
Hollywood?
Yeah. These little stores that specialized in microphones, and they would make customized, circuitry or change out the membrane. There's stuff like that. And it's like on, what was it? I think it was on Sunset, but down, like east. Stores like that. And they were there, and they were able to exist because the industry was there, because people were recording like crazy. And that's what it was about.
Yeah.
You remember in New York, Manny's and all those stores?
Of course.
Yeah.
That's where I got my vibraphone.
They're all gone. All those stores are gone.
Wow.
Everything's changed.
Say that again.
We can't be bitter, although it's kind of shocking, the way things have changed.
Yeah.
Just think, if it weren't for the pandemic, we wouldn't be doing Zoom.
We wouldn't. No, we'd probably, we'd be touring or something.
Yeah.
Who knows what to say
maybe,
about it?
Another 6-7 months, maybe we'll be a little freer than we are today.
I hope so.
See what happens. That's great, Don. It's great that you're playing. That's perfect. And everybody should get out there and do something.
Yeah.
You rehearsed with those guys, Don?
Who?
Your trio.
No rehearsals.
Right on.
I'm going to get together with the bass player, but it was just today I decided not to have any rehearsals because of the scene, because it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
And when you're 88, if you get the fucking thing, then most likely you would die.
Yeah.
I think if you wind up in the hospital, that's the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, that's my primary objective. I do not want to wind up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was even questioning playing the job because, but as it is, there's only going to be 3 people there, and
I think you'll be okay.
So that's probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
But I talked to Andre. That's why I called him, because I wanted to get his take on it, because, as you know, Andre knows everything about everything.
Andre Colmandoli.
Chamandale.
Yeah, he does.
Chumley.
Chumley.
He talked about you today. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Andre, man. And you're right. He does know. It's amazing the scope of his knowledge.
Does he know more? Does he know more than the players know?
What?
Does he know more about the music than most of the players?
Frank's?
I don't know if I would say that.
Yeah.
No, but he's like, I consider him to be alumni, even though he never played with Frank.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Tommy Mars the other day, and unsolicited, he said the exact same thing.
No kidding.
That there's something about Andre's vibe and his knowledge. And he, with the exception of the grandmothers, under the direction of Don and Bunk, Andre does the best tribute.
Yeah. So what's going on, guys? What else are we doing? Bunk, you going to go out there and play once this thing's put away?
Oh, personally, I think indoor concerts are in the near future are just about going to be canceled for outdoor concerts.
Right.
And that looks like possibly for the next year. My only hope is that there'll be enough outdoor festivals coming up next year,
right,
that will give a few bands a chance to be able to go play. Probably more in Europe than here.
Okay.
So
right.
That's my hope.
Well, I just listened to an hour of Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
He just recorded it last week for Harvard Law School. And it's amazing the command of language, memory, and history that this guy has at age 92.
Wow.
But he says that it's like the generation that's now in their 20s. So that would be my daughter's generation, whatever that generation is called, that is going to they're hit with the make it or break it challenge. And that if they don't hit it right, he thinks the future looks grim.
Mm-hmm.
And he cites all kinds of historical patterns and political doings, things that have set up the situation to be the way it is now. And this guy is so bright, man. It's like I love listening to this because it's real wisdom from an elder, which is what we need now. It can, traditional societies, you look to the elders. That's where the wisdom is.
Mm.
So you guys are, and he is one, but his scope is sociology, language, history,
and politics.
Politics for sure.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly inspiring, but it certainly is informative. And just calling it for what it is. And nobody gets spared. No Democrats get spared. No Republicans get spared. He just calls it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it certainly looks a little dark.
It does.
But I hope that critical thinking at some point comes into view.
Right. I say the same thing. What happened to critical thinking?
Well, come on, man. Stupidity abounds out there. But I just hope, that the younger generation can be creative enough to lift up, what's going on here to another plateau.
Right.
I have, that hope, because you have to have a little hope.
You have to have hope, man. Otherwise it's over.
Yes.
And nobody can take that away.
No, man, I think at this point, creativity is at the crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's hard to be creative alone.
Well, that's why, Zoom's a blessing in disguise. Things like
it really
Zoom.
is.
It's the only connection you
That's
have.
Why I have Don. That's why I have Don. We're joined at the hip.
There you go.
Well, I hope you guys will do a Zoom interchange overdubbing free music thing. I'm doing it. I'll send you if you have the computer. I'll send you stuff. You put on it whatever you want.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's something to present, but it's the ultimate in creativity because it's not bound by arrangements or it should be this or here's the notes. All that's, forget it, man. It's just about freedom is, I think, the most important thing we can transmit through our creativity. And whereas it's hard to be a creative individual, be the inspiration, motivation, and also the person who executes the notes, it's hard for one person. But tossing stuff back and forth is a different story.
Yeah. So, okay. So you want them to do it together?
Well, I'll send stuff to anybody who's willing just to overdub a pass, send me what you want, don't send me what you don't want, whatever. It's just, there's no writer of this music. It's just a true collaborative.
No.
I think that would be great.
Get Bunk blowing that horn again.
Yes, Eliot. Get him blowing that horn again. You got it.
I know. He's still my ringtone on my phone.
Oh man, in 2018, that it was also great. But when you talk about horn, having to retain breath and lip and all that stuff, I mean, Bunk was just slamming it every night.
Yeah.
So that's only 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Look how things changed in 2 years. Look at the whole society change.
But I know that Bunk can still kill it on the horn.
Yeah. People don't change. Society changed. Everybody can still get out there and do it. Just that you can't. You got to sit back and wait.
Well, we got to do it a different way.
Yeah.
And
somebody will find a way to do it. Technology always wins.
Well, there is a technological way.
Yeah.
And as soon as enough people are vaccinated and have their papers, then public gatherings will be allowed again.
Papers.
Your papers showing.
Your papers.
Exactly.
Carry your papers with you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Bill Gates tells us that's what it's going to, he's been appointed as the spokesperson. So I don't watch him because I like him. I watch him just to know what's coming up, Yeah. And so when he tells us, it's going to be a series of 2 vaccinations and then your certification that you're up to date. All right. I don't like that, but I know it. And
I want to know how long it's going to last. The vaccination, that is.
Well, they're saying not long.
Yeah.
But they don't know. This is a whole new technology.
This is so new.
But the COVID-19 is totally different than anything else ever.
It is completely different, man.
Yeah.
And
still,
it changed everything. It changed life as we know it. It changed nature. It's changed everything in a matter of months. It's done what no human being could have done.
And when do you ever get countries that all agree at once to do the same thing?
Yeah.
Never.
No.
But this, yes.
Yeah, it's wiped out thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hundreds and thousands. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well,
guys.
I gotta go, guys.
And I have a Christmas present for you. Be coming in your email soon.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you, Don.
Sure.
I'll share it if it's okay.
Okay.
Well, Eliot.
Yes.
Eliot.
I think Eliot took off. He
I'm
just
here.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you, Eliot, for getting us together, talking old times, and feeling good about the good old days.
Good old
Yeah,
days.
man.
Imagine that.
I agree. Thank you, Eliot. We gotta keep some spirit alive.
I feel like a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the name.
Yeah,
I feel like a fly on the wall.
Thank you, Eliot. It's great
Thank
that
you, guys.
you've been instrumental in getting these guys to just talk like this.
We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. We'll get some more people involved, and once I get the technology down, there's no stopping us.
Great.
That's the spirit. Hope.
Yeah.
What happened?
And just look, I mean, if you guys were out touring, I
everyone.
would never have been able to get you all in the same Zoom.
Here we are.
You know what happened to Ian?
Yeah, Ian, I don't know what happened to Ian. I've been trying to get a hold of him. He hasn't been responding.
Yeah.
Well, another time.
Yeah, we'll set him up for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys?
All right, guys. Good to see you.
Yeah. Good talking to you, man.
Again, man.
Happy
Stay
Hanukkah.
healthy.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah. Have a good holiday season, everybody.
Oh, of course. It's Yom Kippur, right?
Yeah, stay safe, okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Here, guys.
Love you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I love you guys too.
Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Not Your Mother's Radio. As promised, here are a few minutes of outtakes.
Anyway, I'm gonna check out, Eliot.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you later.
Okay, my friend. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Take care.
Ian.
Yes.
Hi. There you are.
Yes. Getting organized.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so everybody, Mr. Ian Underwood's with us, and I think everybody else went to sleep.
Oh. Okay. Well, I can kind of understand that. This is the sort of good best I could do. I was busy up until now. As it so happens this evening, another evening would be different. But anyway.
Okay, you know what? And let's not even get into it. And can you schedule for 2 weeks?
Yes, if you want to reschedule, sure.
Yeah.
It's totally.
And I'll get all the guys on that night.
Let's see, 2 weeks. Hang on.
20th.
Let me get my eyeballs on the calendar. Yes, if you want to think about 2 weeks, I mean, it obviously could be tomorrow or the next day or whatever, but if you're talking about the 20th, probably 9 o'clock I could do for sure, maybe 8.
Okay, 8.
I'll try.
8:30.
When we get close.
Okay.
8:30 might be better. But let's say 8:30. 8:30 I could be 100%.
Perfect. 8:30. I'm putting it in my book.
Yeah. Very good. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, my friend.
8:30. So, you've been having a meeting all this time. So how did things go there?
It went very well. Dawn was looking forward to, speaking to you. So I'll get it back in 2 weeks.
Likewise.
Yeah. We'll make it happen. Even if you and Dawn talk sooner than that, I'll let you know if we can make it happen.
Do you have a telephone? Of course you do. You have a telephone number for Don Preston?
Yes. You want it?
if you don't think he would mind, if you gave it to me.
Definitely wouldn't mind. Let's see if I can get it here. Donald.
Yeah, you could just read it to me or send it to me either way.
I'll text it to you so that it's not on recording.
How about that?
Okay, my friend. So,
okay.
I'll send it to you right now.
That's great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, and you could call him. He just left 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. I'm doing it right now. So have a good night. Let me get to my phone and I'll send it to you. You want me to text it to your, phone?
Yeah, text it to my phone. Perfect.
Okay. Goodbye, and I'll do it right now.
Okay. And, we're, at the moment, we're on for the 20th, 8:30.
20th.
Okay. Perfect. Excellent. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay. Bye-bye.
Sal.
Yeah, Eliot.
Yeah, can you do it on Zoom?
How do I do this, man?
Did you get the link I sent you?
No, I didn't get the link. Well, wait a minute, is it the transatlantic meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Phone in, use one of those phone numbers, and then after you dial it, the voice will come on and tell you, well, what to do. You just pretty much have to put a pound sign.
Well, where's the phone numbers?
It's all in that same sheet I sent you, towards the bottom of the sheet.
Is it on the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
Just pick one. They all go to the same place.
Let me see. Let me see. Wait a minute. The meeting number that you have on your...
Yeah.
On the meeting ID?
Yeah, just grab one of those numbers.
The one that you send me right now, right?
Wait a minute. Hold on one second. Let me see.